Wheatfield. I think that was in 1997, thereabouts. And he was a judge, and I worked under him as the prosecutor for a few years, and then I ran for town judge and was successful, and I became his colleague on the bench in Wheatfield. And we had a lot of fun because judges have fun behind the scenes. Don't let the robe and the demeanor fool you. We laugh. But then I ran for Niagara County Court Judge successfully, and I've been in that position now going on 10 years. And a couple of years ago, I was appointed supervising judge for the town and village courts in the 8th Judicial District, which is the 8 counties of Western New York. So guess what? I became Bob's boss. I don't know if you like that all that much, but I did. But what I can tell you from all the years of knowing Bob Cliffe, and those of you in this room, you know this, so I'm preaching to the choir. Integrity, spot on. Honesty, spot on. Exciting? No. Sorry, Bob. But man, what a good guy. I mean, salt of the earth. I saw it as he made decisions. Always a good listener. Always a kindness and a gentleness, a true gentleman. I think you've got a gift. Use it wisely. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I introduce Robert's family. His wife, his right-hand person, and someone I consider a dear friend, Andy Cliffe. His children, Cateri, her husband Brian Brewer, Ryan Cliffe, Kyle Cliffe, and missing from the equation is Amber, who's in New York City. But standing in for Amber is a dear friend, Alyssa Walsh, who is a 5th grader, the youngest campaign worker for the Cliffe family, and she has the honor of holding the Bible as I swear in your new supervisor, Robert Cliffe. Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I, Robert Cliffe.
I, Robert Cliffe.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
Of the office of supervisor.
Of the office of supervisor.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Ladies and gentlemen, your new supervisor.
Sorry, I can't do more than a 2-minute speech without some notes. Father Sam, thank you very much for being here today and sharing your thoughts with us. Judge Supervisor, thank you for being here and swearing me in. It's good to see you back again. We'll see you next year, I'm sure. Judge Hutchins, nice to see you. Nice meeting you. Very, very good to see so many friends, so many folks here who helped in the campaign, and people who are just important here in the town. It's just fantastic to see you all here today. I really feel blessed. There's so many people to thank in this campaign. I really can't thank everyone because I'd be afraid of leaving somebody out. So I'm not going to parcel out anyone except my family. I do appreciate you all being here. They all helped during not only this campaign but prior years as well. Especially my wife Andrea, who's been side by side with me for the last 37 years, plus 6 years before that. We started sharing rings when we were only in 10th grade. So, thank you very much for being here. Love you, baby. It's a difficult campaign this year, but it's not the campaign that's important, it's the result of the campaign that's important. And I guess that's why I'm here today. As Nick Saban notes in the booklet, if you read that, the past is history. There's nothing that we can do about the past. We can't change the way the campaign went. We can't change anything that happened prior to this day. The future's a mystery. We don't know what may come down the road. 2 years ago, you never would have guessed that the economy would be in the shape it's in today. You wouldn't have guessed that revenues for every government agency are down. And government agencies are all scrambling to try and make sense out of their financial condition. What we do have is that precious present moment. That's what we as board members can control. That's what we as staff members and workers can control and try to do a better job for our residents. That's what we have to work for. On Sunday, Father Sam told us that God wants us to respect the laws. He gave us 10 laws to follow, and those 10 laws should be easy for us to follow. But he gave us some others, one of which is to love our neighbor as ourselves. That's a little more difficult. And for us as board members, it means that we need to seek out people in our community that have problems. Maybe not with laws, but personal problems. And then we have to go out and find ways to help them in a manner that everybody can come to a solution and keep their dignity. Yeah, we have laws that we can throw at them. We can throw out zoning rules and everything else. But wouldn't it be better if we could just resolve things among people? And that's what I strive to do. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I don't expect to make many changes here in the office, but there are a few things. First of all, I tend to be a lot more open and a lot more honest with you. If I tell you something, you can count on it being the truth. If I disagree with you, you can count on me telling you that as well. I will be straightforward with people, and when I say something, it's the truth. I'm also going to be a good steward with your tax-paying money. We have to be good stewards. We have to do a better job than we have been doing, especially in these tough times. You have to keep an eye on it. To that end, I've been very fortunate in obtaining the services of Ed Mongold as our budget director. Ed, thank you very much for joining the team. Ed is an expert. He's certainly well-versed in town business, town finances. I believe you're a CPA, if I recall. And Ed will be an important part of our future together here in Wheatfield for the next few years. I've also been blessed that Francine Moore has agreed to come back as our town secretary. She's extremely well versed in the KVS system, which I had no clue with. Not a computer expert, thank goodness. And Francine has agreed to stay on as our secretary. And Francine, thank you very much, and thank you for being here today as well. Everyone likes to talk about doing more with less. Every government agency, every government official, that's all they ever talk about is doing more with less. Hasn't worked very well, has it, folks? Every single government agency you know is in trouble. As board members, department heads, staff, we have to find ways of changing what's been going on. We have to find ways of doing, we may have to do less with less. It's a difficult concept to understand, but basically we have to take a look at everything that we do. We have to step back and say, why do we perform this service? How do we perform this service? Is this the best way to do it? Do we need this service? Because maybe we have to actually cut back on some services in order to save some money in tough financial times. And I think that's something that's already started. We've already had discussions with each and every one of the department heads and several of the people that work for town. We have a heads up going in, but there's an awful lot of work to do. And as board members, we work for you. So we will do our best to see that we take care of those. Hopefully we won't have to lose any services, but we may have to take a serious look at some. I'm also going to ask the board to approve a more stringent policy in terms of purchasing. Certainly isn't that I don't trust the staff members. I think that our department heads are all wonderful people and they do a terrific job for the town of Wheatfield. But as President Reagan used to say, trust but verify. It's important that we set up simple procedures that we get things ahead of time. I hate to ever put a department head in a position where they made a purchase and then 6 weeks later, when it becomes public knowledge, that we start stabbing in the back or asking difficult questions. The time to ask those difficult questions is before that purchase is made. And I think if we can just have simple standard procedures, those types of problems will go away. It's also time for term limits in the supervisor position. I think virtually everyone in the room will agree that Tim Demler did an awful lot of good for this town. As a supervisor, if he had to retire after 8 years, just after he built this, helped to build this building, I think he would have been recognized as one of the very best supervisors the town's had. But the job gets to you. When you're in a position of power and authority, the job works on you, and eventually it can become a problem. So I'm going to be asking the board to give you guys the opportunity to vote for term limits. I personally think that 8 years is plenty in this position. You should be able to get everything done that you wanted to accomplish in 8 years. I prefer 4-year terms. 2-year terms become a money grab. The problem is, it's just a little over a year from now, I have to be looking to run again. And that political payoff is out there. And I don't want to be in a position where I have to worry about making decisions based upon whether I'm getting money for my political campaign. And if you had 4-year terms and only 2 of them, you'd only have to go through that process once. So I hope that people understand that there is a good reason for 4-year terms, and the 2 4-year terms should be plenty. Economic development. Economic development, bringing businesses into the town, into the county, is the lifeblood of our future. Yes, it helps with taxes, and that's important. More importantly, it brings in jobs for our children and their children. I've got 2 kids still in college right now, and it's not going to be easy for them to find jobs, certainly not here in Wheatfield, unless we have economic development. So to this end, Senator Maziarz on Monday is holding a meeting right here in this room, where he's going to be discussing the possibility that the New York State Power Authority will actually release some low-cost power to businesses in this area. Apparently there's a new proposal, a new plan out there that could give us some benefit in that sense. Also, in February, I intend to hold a roundtable over at the Niagara County Economic Development Center, over at Vantage Point. And in there we'll be inviting in 20 or 25 important stakeholders, businessmen, engineers. We'll have local people, but we'll also have regional people there. Bill Ross will certainly be invited. In this group, I hope to share what we know as our strengths here in the town, find out what may be our problems in terms of future development, how we can affect it in the future, and eventually work towards a economic development committee of a few people. Have a whole lot of names out there of people that we can call on with questions. If somebody gives me a call from South Carolina and wants to consider a business here, that I know the names, I have the people that I can call to get answers to their questions. And eventually come down to a local economic development committee of the very best minds in this area to help us to improve the business outlook here in town. Wheatfield's open for business, the right kind of business. Oh yeah, one last thing. Economic development is important, but it's not only in Wheatfield, because the job in the town of Lockport, the job in the city of Niagara Falls is just as important to the town of Wheatfield as one that may be here. So it is a regional concept. It's not just going to be about Wheatfield, but I do think Wheatfield should take a leadership role in that, and I'm prepared to work towards that, and I hope you are as well. One last thing I'd like to do is to bring back the Wheatfield family picnic. My family has loved that day for years and years and years, as long as I can remember being here. I came here in 1976 to live, and we've had that one day over at the park for years and years. It's been gone the last 2. I'm hoping that Dan will come forward and help out a little bit, and that there will be other volunteers. I know that Ed Sturgeon is happy to be involved. We need to bring back the Wheatfield picnic, and we need to do it without taxpayer dollars. So we're going to need some help doing that, and I certainly hope that many of you will volunteer to jump in. Oh, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to come, but before I suggest any further, it's time for me to go back to listening again. I did a lot of listening on the campaign trail. I certainly have a good group of people here to listen to, get your ideas. It is going to be difficult financial times, but I think we can get through it. And I think we've got an extremely good board and concerned board. I think we've got a great group of people that work for the town of Wheatfield. And I hope to continue working with you beyond these next 2 years, but my concern is these next 2 years. So, starting on Monday night, we start making this precious present moment relevant to all of our town residents and all of the stakeholders here in town. So, Happy New Year. This should be a fun year, and I certainly need your help, so please join the team. Thanks for being here tonight, and we'll be around.